Hey boys and girls, Pastor Bruce here. Welcome to the next episode of our Drawing Through the Bible series. This is episode number 4. And hopefully, let me remind you again, we are going through this book, God's Big Picture book, and I'm following the lessons in this book, but changing them a little bit sometimes each week. Hopefully you remember from our last video that we talked about God sending a great flood to judge the wickedness of man, and it covered the entire earth. But God saved a faithful man named Noah and his family and 2 of every kind of animal, and he saved them by keeping them safe on a boat called the ark. Well, today we're going to talk about a man who descended from Noah, a man named Abraham, and we're going to talk about his wife Sarah, and we're going to talk about God's promise to Abraham. So let's get started. Okay, hopefully you know by now that what we do each week is we take a piece of paper and we divide it up into 4 rectangles. We number them 1, 2, 3, 4. We do the same on the back, 5, 6, 7, 8. And each of these squares or rectangles I'm going to use for different pictures, and I'll number them for you. So if you haven't already done so, pause the video, maybe ask your mom and dad to help you if you need help. Go get a piece of paper and divide it up into these rectangles for our pictures today. And today we are only going to use 6 of them. All right, so let's get started. Now, our story today is about a man named Abraham and his wife, Sarah. So this is going to be drawing number 1. Now, Abraham lived in a city called Ur, which we believe was in the country that is now called Iraq today. And God called Abraham to leave his country and his family and to go to a new land that God would give him. So when he was 75 years old, he left with his wife Sarah and his nephew Lot. So we're going to attempt to draw this city of Ur that Abraham left. And actually, if you watched my Christmas video, you'll probably recognize the city because I'm going to draw the city of Ur just like we drew a city in the Christmas video. So I'm going to draw one line along the bottom, and in the middle of that line I'm going to draw a square about like this, and then I'm going to draw a shorter rectangle and another one over here. And you can either make your line come all the way down to the edge, or you can let that be the ground. And then I'm even going to do another building. We might run out of space here, but I'm going to do another building kind of behind this one to make it look like it's in the background. And now we're going to start adding some windows and doors. So let's add maybe a roof here, maybe a round roof here. Let's add some windows. So I'm going to do a rectangle there, one here. You can do it however you want to. I'm just showing you how I have mine, and you can copy it, or you can put more doors or more windows if you want. Maybe a couple over here. I'm going to even draw maybe one on top of this building. We can add another roof and a window. Okay. Now, if I go too fast, you can always stop the video and catch up with me. Now, this is going to be our city of Ur. And so God called Abraham to come out of the city of Ur, and God was going to take him to a new land. All right, so let's move on to our picture number 2. So let's put a number 2 up there. Now, when Abraham and his family left Ur, they no longer had a house. So they took everything with them, and they moved from place to place as they traveled, living in tents. They took all they had, including their servants and their animals. Have you ever gone camping before? Imagine traveling that way with all of your stuff, just moving your campsite from place to place. When we go on trips, we always know that we'll go back to our house when the trip is over. But Abraham wasn't going back. He was going somewhere new, to the land where God was leading him. So what I'm going to do for this picture is I'm going to draw an upside down V. I'm going to draw another one over here, space them out. Maybe an upside down V here. And how about an upside down V over here? And then what I'm going to do with each of these V's is I'm going to take a line and go back from the top and the bottom, and then I'm going to make another line coming down like this. And you probably already know what this is. These are going to be tents where Abraham and his family and his servants, everyone with his group, we're going to be camping in these tents. And then if you want to, you can even draw a campfire. That might be a little tricky, but let's give it a try. Maybe what we'll do is draw a couple of little lines coming out with circles on the end. These can be like our little logs. And then let's draw a fire coming up from it. So that can be, if you want to add a little campfire. It's not a great one that I drew, but it's okay. And so Abraham and all of his family and everyone that was with him were staying in these tents, moving around from place to place. Now, let's move on to rectangle number 3 on your page. Let's draw a 3. Now, eventually, God brought Abraham to the land he had promised him, a land called Canaan. And God told Abraham to look around at all the land he could see, and God promised to give it to Abraham and his descendants forever. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a couple of hills here. And let's make nice grassland. So these are our hills. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw little sets of 3 lines all coming up from the same spot. Like this. Let's draw some grass over here. Real simple, just 3 lines all coming up from the same spot. Now, God told Abraham to look up at the sky and to try to count the stars. And he told Abraham that he would give him as many offspring as the stars of the sky. So let's add some stars to our picture. Maybe you remember how we did this in one other picture when we talked about the creation. I said one easy way to make a star is you draw like you're going to make a capital A. But when you go to do your line across the A, make it a long one that goes across both sides. And then you just connect this corner to that one and this edge to that one, and you've got a star. Let's do it again. Capital A. Let's go too far on either side, and then connect. We'll crisscross. Let's do a few more. Capital A, go too far across, and then crisscross. Mine wasn't very good, so if yours aren't very good, that's okay. Let's do maybe one more over here. Now, I just drew a few, but of course, Abraham would have been looking up and seeing many stars in the sky. So God told Abraham that he would have as many descendants as he could see stars in the sky. But there was a problem. How could God keep his promise to Abraham and give him as many descendants as there were stars in the sky if Abraham and his wife, Sarah, were never able to have children? And now they were very old. But God told Abraham that Sarah would have a son even in their old age. At first, Sarah laughed because she was too old to have a child. But God asked, "Is anything too hard for the Lord?" And God told them that they would have a son by that time next year, and they would name their son Isaac. Now, Isaac means laughter, or he laughs, because when God told Abraham and Sarah they were going to have a son, both of them at different times laughed because they were old and it was hard to believe. And so they named their son Isaac, which means laughter, or he laughs. So what we'll do for this picture is I'm just going to draw one big, huge face. And we're going to draw a laughing face. So we're going to make eyes, and these eyes are going to look almost like eyebrows. And then let's draw a mouth that will be kind of like a D on its side. Now you have someone laughing. All right. Now, just as God promised, at that time next year, Sarah did give birth to a son. And at the time the baby was born, Abraham was 100 years old, and Sarah was 90 years old. So what we're going to do for picture number 5, let me draw number 5 up here. What we're going to do is picture number 5, it's going to be a little bit silly. So I'm going to draw over on this side 2 round circles, and then over on this side I'm going to draw 2 round circles, and then I'm going to make this one into the number 100 and this one into the number 90. Now, Abraham was 100 when their son Isaac was born, and Sarah was 90. So to help you remember, we're going to turn these 2 numbers into their faces. So I'm going to add a dot in this one and a dot in that one. I'm going to add a little nose, and I'm going to add a very happy, smiling face. And we're going to do the same thing to our number 90 over here. She is going to be looking back at Abraham. We'll give her a nose here, and we'll make her a smiling face as well. All right. And so, Abraham and Sarah did have a son, and his name was Isaac. So our final picture, we're going to draw their little baby Isaac. This one is going to be, something went wrong with my marker. This one is going to be picture number 6. And so for their baby Isaac, I'm going to draw a circle over here. And then we're going to draw, that's going to be the baby's head. And then we're going to draw this longer round body like this. And we're going to make the baby happy and sleeping. So we give him a couple of sleeping eyes, a nose, and a happy sleeping mouth. And we're going to make Isaac look like he's kind of wrapped up here. So we'll draw some little lines that kind of look like maybe cloth. All right, and that's our baby Isaac. Now, what I didn't tell you earlier is that Abraham and Sarah actually had different names when they lived in the city of Ur. Abraham was named Abram, and his wife Sarah was named Sarai. But God changed Abram's name and Sarah's name. He changed her name from Sarai to Sarah, and he changed Abram's name from Abram to Abraham because Abraham means father of a multitude, or that another way to say it would be father of many. And God would keep his promise. Isaac went on to have sons, and those sons went on to have sons, and on and on. And later in the Bible, we find out that everyone who believes in Jesus by faith is a child of Abraham. And so Abraham's descendants really are many like the stars in the sky. Abraham and Sarah trusted God and they believed his promises, and we can trust God and believe his promises as well. Because God can do anything, and he always keeps his word.